Now, what is the dream of all little boys? Of course, it is to get to the entrails of your own skull and brain. Perhaps not. However, I was fascinated with forensics for some time, and I decided to extract my old fMRI scan of magnetic resonance from 2018 and play with it. And I wanted to utter how modern day artificial so-called intelligence is useful for anthropological study. So the fMRI extraction and processing, or the functional MRI data, were extracted from high-resolution volumetric scans of the cranial cavity. And the pre-processing and segmentation were performed in BrainSuit version 19 and 3D Slicer version 4.11. How was it done? Well, the volumes were loaded into the MATLAB R2021B environment. As MATLAB libraries are coming with the BrainSuit, the skull stripping and bias fields correction was utilized by BrainSuit's command line routines, and the surface reconstruction and region of interest extracted used custom MATLAB scripts leveraging for the slicer 3D export access points. So the resulting volumes were inspected for artifact removal and quality assurance. Hence, I arrived with these particular images which are extracted. I didn't extract a fully operational 3D model or object model. I just used the ready-made file, I think it's NFS, that was used for further biomedical processing. So from fMRI you can see that my head is kind of flanked off or cut off and left and right, because that was the image from fMRI. So how is it used, or how can it be used for further anthropological processing? Well, the document kicks in, and I read before, and I gave those files and all the information available for processing in ChatGPT. Combining it with the mtDNA or mitochondrial DNA lineages that was extracted and processed by Family Tree DNA with the CLIA certified and CAP accredited laboratory in Texas, Houston, or Houston, Texas in the US some years ago. So these are the information here. MitoMap information are not available here, although there are plenty of free tools that you may use online. Okay, so what do we have here? Physical anthropology seemed to be compromised by a certain political system during the World War II, although physical anthropology plays also a crucial role in identifying certain traces of the past, anthropological past of a given specimen or a racial subclade. Now, so this is the assessment of an example of my skull, dolichocephalic skull, with the K1C1F lineage implication stemming from U8 lineage. And we may read as follows. This is generated by input I provided to ChatGPT and by the export information I received. So this is the analysis of a cranium exhibiting distinct Indo-Dravidian morphological traits. I wanted to study why I have those two horns on the front of my skull, and that was very popular amongst Indo-Dravidian populations, those little bumps on the skull that are non-pathogenic, they're not pathological. So, and the mitochondrial haplogroup K1C1F derived from U8. So I also speculated that my lineage or matrilineal lineage, apart from Germany, Thessaly, Anatolia, comes all the way back from the U8 crossing the Hindu Kush and Indus Valley, and there were some genetic traces found of the K1C group in the Indus Valley, in the Harappa civilization. So I cross-checked it and tried to find the morphological overview. It was given information were given in pixels and then ratioed in proportions in order to derive the proper information. As I didn't measure my skull or didn't give an output in centimeters, since I had no reference, I decided to lose ratios and proportions. So dolichocephalic profile, rounded occipital region, the zygomatic arches, prominent. These are all the information I extracted. Leptorine characteristics of nasal aperture, alveolar prognatism, cranial landmarks and measurements. So these are the annotated landmarks. Also, I use ChatGPT to use it. These are the analyzed measurements in pixels, and these are the ratios. So we have the cephalic index that is mesocephalic to minimum and bordering with dolichocephalic 76.7, nasal index leptorine, orbital index megasim, facial index leptoprosopic, prognathis moderate to strong, and this is giving the indication that the cephalic index is indeed Indo-Dravidian with features of Australoid Mediterranean. That would indicate also some connection to peripheral Nordic. Nasal index Caucasoid Indo-Dravidian, orbital Australoid, some Asian types. Facial index dolichofacial, prognathis Australoid African admixed. That would indicate some Indo-Iranian plateau. That would indicate some both South Asian and African-Iranian ancestry, which is well combined with the mtDNA testing, so it overlaps, it correlates. The haplogroup U8, from which K stems, is a West Eurasian mitochondrial lineage 50,000, 60,000 years ago. The K1C1F, with all the mutations, I have most relatives, genetic relatives from the matrilineal lineage in Finland and in Germany. It is found in South Central Asia, Iran, and post-Harappan or Bronze Age Indus samples, as well as individuals from Indus Valley Civilization and related populations in the Hindu Kush. Hindu Kush, by the way, means Hindikula, that is the mountains, the trade routes of slaves from India towards the west. Plenty of Hindi died in the process. That's why this range is called Hindikula. So morphology, genetics, correlation, again dolichocephalic leptozopropic traits that suggest South Indian influence, ancestral. The population mobility, of course, from Indo-Dravidians to South India subcontinent. Leptorine nasal Neolithic Iranian and related, so it's confirmed, and some South Asian tribal groups, which is quite interesting because it's the migrations, the population migrations, and the population genetics would confirm plenty of information nowadays. I would highly suggest the book by Harvard Sanskrit professor Michael Witzel on the origin of world's mythologies. You have the population genetics, myth studies, and all the bits and pieces of data that are fascinating. So that confirmed the Harappan, post-Harappan, urban agrarian society influence. The K group brought agriculture to Europe. Very Saturnine of them. Neolithic Iranian, Caucasian. So yes, the Iranian plateau to do, and these are annotated skull renderings. As we see, the vertex is almost at the top, but it's a bit mixed. It's a medical term for the top of the skull. The rest is identified properly apart from this hanging in between. So glabella, aurion, zygion, nasion, acanthion, gnathion. I'm not a specialist in forensics, but I like to experiment, as you may see. And this is just an example of the use of cross-verifying of both genetics and physical anthropology, cranial measurement, in order to establish the descent of the particular formation or the craniometric formation of the skull indicators. So I think that is enough. My pastimes. Thank you.